What's up, guys? My name is Jerry, and today's video is going to be on the Portland Trailblazers, and we're going to be talking about how this team has solved a major problem, and we're going to jump right into the video. Now, for the last 3 or 4 years, the Portland Trailblazers have had no problems creating quality offense. When you have players like Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, and Yusuf Nurkic, creating great offense is going to be pretty easy. But one area the Portland Trailblazers have struggled in is on the defensive side of the ball. Over the last 3 years, the Portland Trailblazers have ranked in the bottom half of the league when it comes to defensive rating. So it's definitely an area they want to improve on. I want to go back to the 2018-2019 Portland Trailblazers squad where they made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals. I really love the starting five of this team. They had Dame and CJ at the 1 and 2. They had Mo Harkless and Al-Farouq Aminu at the 3 and 4. And then there was Yusuf Nurkic manning the 5 position. And what I loved about this starting five was the 2 players that they had at the 3 and 4 positions. They had Mo Harkless and Al-Farouq Aminu. And I know these 2 guys weren't very talented on the offensive side of the ball, but I feel like they didn't really have to be because the Trailblazers had Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, and Yusuf Nurkic, and all 3 of those guys are really solid on offense. So the only thing these 2 guys had to worry about was playing defense, and they were really good at it. They both had great size and length, and they had the ability to guard multiple positions. And I feel like their ability to do that took a lot of stress off Dame and CJ on the defensive side of the ball. And my reason for bringing this team up, I feel like the Portland Trailblazers are kind of going back to that kind of roster, especially what we've seen them do in the offseason. And they started this offseason off with a bang by trading for Jeremy Grant. The Blazers were able to acquire Jeremy Grant in a trade with the Detroit Pistons, and he's going to make this team so much better on the defensive side of the ball. And what makes Jeremy Grant such a great defender is that he's versatile. He can guard multiple positions, and we all know how valued that is in the NBA today. Jeremy Grant has great size and length. He stands at 6'8", and he has a crazy long 7'2" wingspan. So you add that to his athleticism and his great lateral quickness, it allows him to stay in front of smaller players out on the perimeter. It also allows him to bang with some of the bigger players in the NBA down on the low post. He also has some great strength. And Jeremy Grant, he also stays engaged while playing help defense. He plays in the passing lanes, and he's a willing help defender. He's great at rotating to protect the rim because he has those very long arms, so he's really good at blocking shots. So Jeremy Grant is really a complete defender, and we gotta remember, before he went to the Detroit Pistons and he had more of a scoring opportunity, he was known for being a lockdown defender. So I think he's really going to help the Trailblazers in that area. And what makes Jeremy Grant such a great pickup for the Blazers is that he's also very valuable on the offensive side of the ball, and I think he's going to come to the Blazers and he's going to fit in their offensive system perfectly because he's one of those players that can be functional with or without the basketball. And with the Blazers having players like Dame, Anthony Simons, Yusuf Nurkic, guys who like to have the ball in their hands, it's very important to have guys who can function without the basketball. And Jeremy Grant, he does a great job of knocking down his catch and shoot threes. He's a great cutter and finisher at the rim, can finish with both hands, and he can also get up to slam the ball. And Jeremy Grant can also operate with the basketball. He can create offense for himself consistently. He can score from all 3 levels. He can navigate the pick and roll. He has a great handle on the ball. He can also get a bucket in isolation, and he also has some post work. So this is a guy that's going to be able to put up 20 points per game while also having the ability to guard 1 through 5. So I think he's going to play a huge role in improving the Portland Trailblazers on the defensive side of the ball. The Blazers also added another high quality defender this offseason, Gary Payton II, and a lot of people think that the Blazers overpaid for him, but I feel like if your goal is trying to win the NBA championship, trying to get into playoff contention, you should spend some money on a player like Gary Payton II, because what he does on the defensive side of the ball, many players can't replicate that, and it is so crucial. And watching him play, in my opinion, with the eye test, he looks like the best on-ball defender in the NBA, especially when he decides he's going to full court press. He does a great job of putting relentless pressure on the opposing ball handler, and this often leads to him picking their pocket, forcing an 8-second violation, or just the ball handler throwing a very terrible pass. And what I love about GP2 is that he doesn't allow his size to prevent him from being a versatile defender, because he doesn't have that elite size and length of guys like Jeremy Grant. He is only 6'3" with a 6'8" wingspan, but I still consider him to be one of the most versatile defenders in the NBA, because watching the Golden State Warriors, we all know for about the last 5 years they run the switch everything defense. So that means Gary Payton, he often had to guard bigger players, and watching him in those matchups, they would try to take him down to the post, but he was often successful in these matchups for two reasons. Number one, he is very athletic, he is very strong, and he has a great ability to jump off of the ground. And number two, he has high basketball IQ and he has great basketball instinct. So he will be able to stand his ground in the post. He will often be able to draw charges. He has very fast hands. He knew exactly when to reach, which led to him stripping those bigger players. So I think Gary Payton II, I think he's the best on-ball defender in the league, and he's also very dangerous in other areas. And I think his defense is going to allow him to be kind of like the spark plug for the Portland Trailblazers, because his defense unlocks the second best part of his game, and that's transition offense. When he plays great defense and he gets a stop, a steal, or he gets a block and get the rebound, it just ignites the fast break. And on the fast break, he is a great passer, and he's also a great finisher. He can dunk the ball, finish with both hands, and he's also a lob threat. So you gotta love GP2 on the defensive side of the ball, and I think he's pretty solid offensively as well. And in the half-court setting, most of GP2's offense comes from off-ball situations, and I like to say that he's always in the right place at the right time. He does a great job of cutting to the basket, pretty good finisher around the rim, can finish with both hands, get up and dunk the ball. He also does a great job of knocking down his wide open corner threes, and if he's hot, he can knock them down from the top of the key in the wing as well. And he also likes to linger around in that dunking position on the low block. He does a great job of catching the bounce pass or catching a lob and finishing with a dunk. So he's a pretty solid player on the offensive side of the ball, and he's a hell of a defender. So I really like what the Trailblazers have done this offseason to bring in two guys that can perform on the defensive side of the ball while also providing things on offense. And I really like the way this Portland Trailblazers team is panning out on the defensive side of the ball. I feel like they have a pretty solid amount of perimeter defenders. They have guys like Josh Hart who can guard multiple positions as well. Nasir Little, he's 6'5", 220 pounds with a 7'1" wingspan. That great size allows him to be a player that can guard multiple positions. And even Shaedon Sharpe, with his elite athleticism, he's bound to play some pretty solid perimeter defense. So I love what the Trailblazers have done to get better on the defensive side of the ball, and I think they're going to be one of the more solid teams in the Western Conference next season. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment down below if you agree or disagree, and then subscribe for more weekly content. We do this all the time, man, and that's curtains.